For the teenagers' family, we've seen a lot of politicians and celebrities also step in this hour of grief. And as I said, protests only continue. We're getting some breaking developments also now coming in. We're now understanding, looking at these protests which have now entered day 3. The French President Emmanuel Macron also left the EU summit which was taking place in Brussels, has made his way back to France to try and understand the ground situation. As I pointed out, protests have now entered day 3 post that very unfortunate killing of a 17-year-old teenage boy by police officials during a traffic stop, and then seem to be lying as far as the circumstances are concerned. We in fact have a guest now joining us from Paris, Manu Vishal now joining us. Manu, we appreciate you taking out the time and joining us here on CNN News 18. First, could you help us understand what does the ground situation today look like? We're understanding protests have reached day 3 and we're understanding they're only going to escalate from here on.
Yes, as you told, it's the third day of protest. And the biggest problem for normal people like us is the commute. Most of the public transport is disrupted. The buses and trams have not been running. For example, yesterday we had to go somewhere, and yesterday the buses and trams were completely stopped, and there was a curfew after 9 o'clock. And on the way back, we saw a lot of cars burning, people on the street. So it was not safe for us at night.
So you're saying daily life has completely been disrupted because protests still continue. We're understanding upwards of 400 people have already been arrested by the police because they continue to protest. One bank was set on fire as well. Could you talk to us about what you're seeing around you and how are you seeing the numbers swelling in terms of protests?
Well, the place where this incident happened is quite close to our place. It's a place called Nanterre. And the most of the protest is happening in that area, while it has spread to most all over Paris and even other cities in France. But the numbers have been rising, and a lot of people have even used this opportunity to incite robberies. And we have been hearing news that at a very premium location in Paris, a Nike store has been looted, and a video has been circulating in social media about the looting. And
so
it's
really
scary.
Unfortunate that people are actually trying to take advantage of such an unfortunate situation. How are you all managing on a day-to-day basis? Because the protests are only continuing. Are you working from home? What is the kind of reassurance that you're getting from ground authorities?
Well, to be honest, in the mornings, it's quite okay. I have been going to the office. Just yesterday was the day I worked from home. And after most of the protests happen towards the evening. And if you stay at home, it's kind of okay. So we have been advised to stay home, and that's what we have been doing.
Is there some sort of advisory that is being given by authorities on the ground asking you all to stay indoors while they try and contain the situation? Because the update that's now coming in is that Emmanuel Macron, the French president, also understanding the situation is going out of control. He's left from Brussels, made his way back to France, will be holding some crucial meetings. So is there some sort of advisory that is being sent to people who are staying in and around these areas where the protests are happening?
Well, I've not received any advisory, but it's been circulating around social media to stay indoors, and most of our contacts have asked us to stay indoors. So that's pretty much the information that I have gotten personally. So it's
one of the reasons the protests are only escalating is because of not just the tragic shooting of the 17-year-old boy, but apparently the lies that we heard from the French police in terms of the circumstances in which that boy died. What are you hearing from the ground?
Well, I cannot comment much on that. I also heard stuff from the news articles and the social media, but the word on the ground is basically from the video that has been captured while this shooting has taken place of where this incident happened. And well, that's pretty much I know. I cannot comment on that.
Sure. Manu, just help us understand in terms of the protests, the areas where these protests are happening and the people who've taken to the streets. Because now we're understanding it's not just regular citizens, but politicians and celebrities also who are joining these protests.
Well, I just know that a lot of people are taking to the streets and the number is increasing day by day. And also it has been spreading to different cities in France. And it's not just to the department where it happened, which is Nanterre. And there have been reports from Lille and also in different parts of Paris, even outside Paris. So I just know the numbers are increasing. About celebrities, I don't know about it.
Sure. Manu, just going back to the question that I asked you a short while ago, we're getting reports that a bank was set on fire as well. So are now common establishments also now being targeted by protesters? Do we know who was behind the fire?
We don't know. Police have arrested a lot of people. In fact, it's a mass arrest that's happening all around Paris. And we don't know who has set it on fire. And a lot of people might be taking advantage of the mob to set public properties on fire. And most of the cars which are parked on open areas are also getting targeted. So it's a sad state, actually, the destruction of public property.
Sure, Manu, I just want to ask you, as far as the area where this tragic episode happened and where the protests are happening, what are the kind of establishments that are in and around these areas and how are those establishments being impacted because of the protests now?
Well, apart from the bank, the only other establishments that I hear about this are the shops. A lot of looting is happening now, as I mentioned earlier, and as I told, the protests are not localized in the area where this happened. It has further expanded to all of Paris and even other cities of France.
Okay, Manu, here's hoping that you can stay safe and do stay safe, follow all the advisories, and also hoping that the situation can be brought under control. So an eyewitness account there, in fact, helping us understand what really is happening in France, saying that the anger is only escalating and there is a understanding that the protests will only escalate over the next couple of days. We'll keep tracking those developments. For now, we're shifting our focus